Hey, this is Sam Black, and I just completed a 4-1 run with my new and improved big Valakut deck. I definitely think that the way that it felt was improved from where it had been before. It actually felt like it ran reasonably smoothly, and I kind of felt like I was just getting unreasonably lucky, but when I sideboarded, it definitely felt like it had an impact. Some thoughts on that. My deck is roughly half again as big as a normal deck. Half again plus 3 cards. So if I side in 3 Anger of the Gods, it's like bringing in 2 Anger of the Gods in a 60-card deck. So when I'm bringing in 4 Anger of the Gods, that's actually going to have a pretty big impact. So if you compare this, basically my sideboard is extremely focused. So if you compare it to a smaller deck with a less focused sideboard, it's kind of similar. And that's ignoring the fact that my deck is generally pretty good at finding its pieces. That's kind of the whole point, is I have a lot of digging and tutoring and stuff. So while drawing my 1 Ray of Revelation or my 1 Malira, my 1 super impactful card out of 93 cards certainly feels unreasonably lucky. It's worth noting that it certainly isn't like sideboarding should have no effect or something. This deck definitely does get to sideboard, and it should matter some. So I liked what was going on with the sideboard, but I also just entirely played against the exact decks or kinds of decks that my sideboard was most targeted at beating. So my sideboard overperformed because I just played against the decks that's what it was there, that it was there for. But that said, it did successfully turn matchups that felt like they would probably be difficult into matchups that felt like I was advantaged. So definitely got what I was going for out of my sideboard. The core game plan has felt strong and consistent. Some of the weirder fringe stuff, like Splendid Reclamation, the Unburial Raids package, Tassiger, Bedlam Reveler, that stuff hasn't come up, but I also wasn't playing the matchups that it was designed for. Obviously, I've been setting it out. But I do think that those cards add a lot for their opportunity cost. So I'm still interested in them. I went 4-1, the 1 loss I maybe could have won if I'd played differently. That was the game where I played a Dark Dwellers that left me dead to any pump spell instead of trying to dig for an Abrupt Decay, which it turns out I would have hit, which would have left me in a much better position. Or dig for an Ancient Grudge. I might have misspoken there. I don't remember what I said. Anyway, yeah, so anyway, I feel like I've gotten this deck to a pretty reasonable spot where it's really taking advantage of its size to do something unique. I mentioned when I was first playing against Infect, this is going to be a really bad matchup. It's a bad matchup for regular Valakut, and I would expect my deck to be even worse because I'm just a less consistent, bigger deck, but that's buying into the mythology that my deck has to just be worse because it's bigger, when in reality, I think we saw exactly what I'm gaining from these extra cards, in that I just have this extra game plan where I can shift into a removal deck with a tutor package for my dedicated hate creatures in the sideboard that regular red-green Valakut decks just don't have the ability to do. So even though they could do something like put a Malira and Spellskite in their sideboard, they would actually have less access to those cards in their smaller deck than I do in my bigger deck. And so this gets to be a much more consistent part of my plan. And we just really saw my ability to just become an interactive deck with a big top end rather than a dedicated ramp deck. So pretty cool stuff. Pretty excited about the direction this has gone. I feel like it's a big improvement, and it's getting to the point where I'm really wondering if it's doing something real. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'm not actually sure what the next steps are from here.